Hey, welcome back to New Model Monday Live from Matt and Tyler here at Bachmann. As some of you may have seen, we're going to be focusing this week or this month on our 2025 catalog product announcements, which were officially unveiled a couple of weeks ago at the Amherst Railway Society Railroad Hobby Show. Tyler has the catalog there. I always point in the wrong direction.
That's
Uh,
all right.
so how are we doing today, Tyler?
We're doing great. We're excited to be showing off the catalog. For those who haven't seen it, here's the awesome Art Deco inspired cover with the photography by Ken Patterson, showing off the New York Central, Dreyfus Hudson, and some of our other recent New York Central releases in HO scale. One thing to point out, we're going to be showing off the majority of the new product announcements that are in the catalog, but we've got so many, we can't get to them all in one live stream. There'll be certain things like the Thomas and Friends announcements. We may have some time to go over them later, but we're going to start off with the regular line announcements. And it's not even going to include things like road number changes, but it'll be all of our brand new items and brand new paint schemes.
Which we have some pretty cool stuff in here. Um, Before we get started with that, though, we do have some products to show off. Which Tyler, I don't know. Do you want to start with what you have? I think what you have is probably the most exciting.
I'd have to say so. This was our big reveal at the Amherst Railway Society Railroad Hobby Show up in Springfield, Massachusetts, a couple weeks ago. You folks may have already seen it on our Facebook page, but here it is again. This is our brand new, all new tooling 1900s era passenger car, the 68-foot passenger car with the wood sides. It's pretty appropriate that we got to unveil this at the Amherst show. This is based on a Boston and Maine prototype, which is appropriate to the region. And many of these cars are in preservation today on the Strasburg Railroad, not too far away from Bachmann HQ here. So as you can see, it's quite a bit larger than if you're familiar with our pre-existing old-time passenger cars, which are more of a 19th century design. The 1900s era passenger car represents cars built from as early as 1890, primarily in the 1900s, up through 1910. These cars improved on previous designs of woodside passenger cars in that they had a steel frame for additional, or a steel underbody for additional strength. But these style of cars did not last particularly long as railroads transitioned into all steel passenger cars. But even though these cars were not built for very long, some of them lasted in service up until the 1950s, such as on the Boston and Maine, and many of them survived into preservation. Boston and Maine is not going to be a paint scheme in this initial release, but we've got four other paint schemes that are appropriate for this type of car: Pennsylvania Railroad, New York Central and Hudson River, the Southern Pacific, and the Strasburg Railroad, with two road numbers for each. And we'll hopefully have painted samples to show for you folks in a couple months. This is just the unpainted engineering sample. Bring it up closer to the camera here so you folks can see separately applied handrails on the ends of the car here, and the truss rods under the car to reinforce the body and add strength.
I love the way
One
that
thing that,
looks.
yeah, one thing that this sample does not have is an interior, but we will be adding an interior for the production run, and we should have that ready to show when we show off the painted samples.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a really nice car, and like others have mentioned already, it's going to be a definitely a good addition to the early 20th century modeling world. There's not a lot out there that covers passenger railroading in that era, so we're happy to bring this into the market.
Yeah, it's something that's never been done before, as far as we're aware, in ready-to-run plastic. So this is a first for HO scale.
So yeah, so that's probably our coolest new product to show off because that's a brand new tooling reveal. We do have a few other things to talk about. One of them I have behind me here. Now I'm trying to remember. Did we go over this at all during the last stream, Tyler?
We did not because the last stream was before the catalog came out, and this was introduced in the 2025 catalog. I think
That's
it's on
right.
one of the very first slides that we have.
That's right. Yeah. So we have our McKinley Explorer set, which we relaunched in our NMRA announcements in 2024 as an update to the set that we've offered for many years, representing how the train currently looks with the new paint scheme on the passenger cars and also the new Alaska Railroad scheme on the locomotive, or the most recent Alaska Railroad scheme. So alongside the Holland America McKinley Explorer set, we're also doing the Princess Cruises Denali Express set, which was a set that we had for a number of years as a companion set to the McKinley Explorer in the previous run. And just like with the McKinley Explorer, we're doing these with the new Alaska Railroad updated paint scheme on the locomotive, the GP40 here, which pairs really nicely with the new paint scheme, which is for the first time they're actually doing the same paint scheme on the prototype for the Princess Cruises Denali Express and for the McKinley Explorer. So it gives the train a nice uniform look because oftentimes the cars do run together in the same consists. But here's a look at the first painted samples of these cars. These are the 89-foot Colorado Rail Car Ultra Domes. They're known as both the tallest and the longest passenger cars operating in current service in the United States. So pretty cool cars. These are taller than an auto rack. They're about as tall as the maximum height a double stacked container train could be. So great view for the passengers as they're traveling through the Alaskan wilderness. So you've got is this the B car or the A car, Tyler? Which one's the one without the observation end?
The observation end is the B car. That's just an internal name used for them.
All right. So this is the A car. This just has the standard door entrance, and then the other car that the set comes with has the observation end here, which in real life is an awesome place for people to hang out and watch the scenery go by on the real train. So this will be coming with our oval of 22-inch radius easy tracks. So nice broad curves for these longer passenger cars, and as always, it comes with our speed controller and everything you need to get ready and running your train within minutes. So those are our two products we have to show off today. So obviously the big thing is the catalog. Tyler, I'm going to bring you back up on the screen here. If you can show that cover again, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, so the cover was a shot by Ken Patterson. You may very well know as a very well-known model railroad photographer and social media personality. He does fantastic photography. He's worked with us for many years to bring a number of photos to life, and we're happy to have him involved in this and put this together. This is based, obviously, on for anyone who's a New York Central fan, you may recognize the structure of the image is based on a very famous New York Central painting, which had the Dreyfus Hudson leading out of, I believe it was out of Chicago in the photo, or in the art. So we replicated that with using some of our models. With you got the Dreyfus Hudson in the foreground, which is obviously the biggest new arrival steam locomotive coming this spring, and then you've got the standard Hudson behind that, the J3A, and you've got next to it you've got our new New York Central smooth side passenger cars, which will be coming out around the same time as the Hudson. I think it may be a little bit afterwards. And then also our new 060 with road-specific details and sound. And of course, you can't really see in the picture, but it's the New York Central version there.
Bring it in a little closer so you can see all of those.
So, Ken did a fantastic job. Our art director, he also did an amazing job putting together the Art Deco appearance on the covers. So, with that being the front of the catalog, let's dive into it.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be doing every page of the catalog. We're going to go through. This is actually the slideshow that we showed at the at Amherst when we announced the new products. So this is exclusively new products, and as Tyler said, this is the standard line as well.
Yes. For the Thomas For those of you who may have missed it again, the Thomas and Friends announcements, we'll try to show them at the end of the stream if we have time. Otherwise, if you want to check out afterwards, on last week's Thomas Monday live stream over on Train World, Doug Blaine went over all the announcements there as well.
Yep. Very good video. Very worth watching.
Yeah, lots of exciting stuff for the 80th anniversary of Thomas and Friends.
Absolutely. All right, so starting out here with our licensed Ringling Brothers and Bachmann Bailey products, we've announced 2 new additions to the line in HO scale. One of them were to represent the classic Legacy Circus image that you're more than likely very familiar with, and one to represent the current image of the circus that is back in circulation and touring now. So the first car is a 40-foot stock car, and the paint scheme on this is based on a actual stock car paint scheme that was used. Tyler, I think did you say this is in the 40s and 50s?
Correct.
So the cars were obviously a little bit different to the standard stock car that we offer, but we wanted to represent the paint scheme on that, and it's also a great addition to our other silver and red Ringling Brothers and Bachmann Bailey rolling stock items like our passenger cars. And then with the new car, we have the I guess fairly whimsical popcorn butter tank car. The show today is a fantastic spectacle of mostly human acts. There's even a robot act, and what better way to enjoy that than with a great bag of popcorn with nice covering of butter on it. So
yeah. The circus no longer travels by train, but we figured, what if it did? What kind of cargo would it be carrying? And the popcorn butter, very important to that whole experience.
Absolutely. And if you're someone like me, you'd be emptying at least a quarter of that into your popcorn bucket.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on to the next, we just saw this. This is the Princess Cruises Denali Express train set. So I won't spend too long on this because we just looked at the sample of this. But again, this is going to come with our usual train set components to allow you to get up and running straight away, whether you have a model railroad or not beforehand. And it's just a really cool looking set and a fantastic way to start modeling the modern era on the Alaska Railroad. So in HO scale locomotives, this is a locomotive that we know a lot of people are have enjoy in reality and have enjoyed in model form over the years, and it's getting a paint scheme overhaul in 2 of the paint schemes that we've offered in the past, and it's getting a brand new paint scheme too. So I'm going to turn over to Tyler to explain these a little bit more.
Yeah, we're on the. Sorry, Matt. I was checking the comments. Are we on the Denali still, or are we on to the next one?
We're on the GS4 now.
Okay. Yes. Our GS4 484 locomotive from the Southern Pacific has been in the line for a very long time. But we've always been, reiterating on it and improving it. We've had it in the Sound Value line for a few years now, and now we're offering it as a DCC ready model. This comes with a 21-pin plug for the decoder installation of your choice, as well as a speaker. And we've got free paint schemes for this release. All of them represent the very famous 4449, which is still in preservation. And we have two returning paint schemes and a brand new paint scheme. The Southern Pacific with the billboard lettering. That represents the 4449 as it would have been in service in the 1950s. We've got the American Freedom Train 4449, which is the original American Freedom Train, which traveled the country showing off historic displays and artifacts from our nation's first 200 years. That'll be celebrating its 50th anniversary in this year and going into 2026. So we're bringing back the 4449 in the Freedom Train colors. Those 2 paint schemes both have had the several updates to the artwork to correct and add some additional details that we didn't have in previous releases in terms of lettering, builder's plates, the correct fonts, the whole 9 yards to bring them up to our current standards. And we also have a brand new paint scheme, which is the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, which used the locomotive around 2000 into 2001 for some employee special excursions. So the familiar daylight colors were painted over in a black and white pinstripe scheme, which was a very unique look for this locomotive that we're offering for the very first time.
It was somewhat reminiscent of the scheme that these wore in the Second World War.
Yeah, that's also correct. During the World War II, and I believe for a period afterwards, many of these locomotives were painted in a an all black paint scheme to make them less distinctive during the war.
I think that'll be a cool addition, and this is a great locomotive that can apply to so many modelers' eras. Like you said, you've got the '50s with the billboard lettering scheme, and the '70s with the Freedom Train, and then right up into the early 2000s with the BNSF 4449.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also worth mentioning, I know you did mention it, but these are DCC sound ready, so that means they have a speaker on board in addition to the 21-pin plug. So all you need to add sound to these is a appropriate sound decoder. Everything else has been done for you. So moving on in steam locomotives, we also have two additions to our standard USRA 060 line. These are not our new USRA 060s with the road specific detail. These are our standard models. We've got two new paint schemes for these. We've got the Union Pacific Greyhound scheme, which is a really cool. I guess that would be a 50s era scheme too. I guess, or maybe 40s.
May have been earlier. It was a passenger paint scheme, which would not have been necessarily used on this exact locomotive, but it's a fun little what if. We've done it a few times on our 060s with the Vanderbilt tender, and now with the slope tender as well. But then, speaking of the Vanderbilt tender, we do have the prototypical Union Pacific paint scheme for that, the traditional steam engine black with the oil burning Vanderbilt tender. Not shown on this slide, we also have a new road number for the Southern Pacific, which was another railroad that used those Vanderbilt oil tenders with their 060 switchers.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on from the 060s, we are in our 440 range. And this is our new addition in the 440 series, which is the North Pole and Southern number 1 St. Nicholas. So we know a lot of people like modeling, like representing Christmas on their railroads, or sometimes people will model specifically around the Christmas period and have a Christmas layout set up, whether it's under the tree or on a mantelpiece or even on an actual layout. And we figured it was time to bring out the 440 in a paint scheme appropriate for modelers who enjoy modeling this season.
Yeah, it would. That period in the 19th century, the Wild West years, as some would like to call it, that's when you had so many steam locomotives and those colorful, attractive paint schemes with all the ornamentation, and so it was a good fit for a Christmas locomotive to add to our range, the St. Nicholas. You can actually see, I'm not sure if you were able to zoom in, Matt, but we've got some garland on the upper portion of the tender. We've got a nice little holly leaf graphic on the dome there around the number 1 and the North Pole and Southern initials on the headlights. So very ornate, very festive looking locomotive. That was a fun one to do the artwork for.
Yeah, and it'll look great on a layout. So moving into the modern era, going from the 19th century to the 21st century, we've got two new additions in our Siemens Charger series. Both of these, in reality, were actually additions within the last year to the prototype railroad world. First one is Amtrak Midwest number 4626, which is an SC44 Charger, but has a little bit of a different appearance to the other SC44s. This one received an ALC42 streamlined nose cone at some point during 2024. And when we saw that photos of that start appearing, we knew that we had to bring out a model of it, because it's another variety of the Siemens Charger that is now out and running on the rails. We also have the Via Rail Canada Lumi scheme. This was a one-off scheme that they did for to signify the halfway point in their order of Siemens train sets, and it was designed to look like to somewhat look like the paint scheme that was worn by the United Aircraft turbo trains in the 70s and 80s. With they had a yellow scheme with a blue stripe, and these have a yellow scheme with a black stripe, and a little bit of stylization. But very cool looking. It's called the Lumi scheme. It's a one-off in reality. So if you're modeling Eastern Canada, this is going to be a must-have to bring to the line. And of course, we'll get to them, but we are offering the entire train, just as we did with the standard Via Rail Canada Siemens train sets. All right, so onto the GP40s now. We have a couple of new additions to our GP40 series. Tyler, you want to tell us about these?
Yes, so we've got two brand new road names for this category, and I think one we have not done in a very long time and one that is brand new to us. The returning one would be the Louisville and Nashville on the top of that slide in the family line system paint scheme from the 1970s through the 1980s. This is a DCC onboard locomotive. Does not have a sound decoder, but it does have a DCC decoder, so it's ready to run for digital control right out of the box. And just below that, as a DCC ready model with a 21-pin plug, we have the first model from our new licensing agreement with Pan Am, representing Pan Am Railways, which operated in the Northeast. It was formerly the Guilford system, and for those who are not aware, comprised several historic Northeast railroads: Boston and Maine, Maine Central, Springfield Terminal. And in the 2000s, they licensed the branding of the former Pan Am Airway and became known as Pan Am Railways, featuring the Pan Am colors and branding. So Pan Am Railways lasted up until about 5 years ago when they were acquired by CSX. So these locomotives, I believe, are starting to slowly get repainted, but we're celebrating the history of the Pan Am Railways and the Pan Am brand as a whole with this GP40 locomotive.
And not to mention, there are still quite a few of these out there running in this paint scheme. Like Tyler said, they are being slowly repainted, but if you go up to Railfan in that area of the country, you'll still more than likely find a lot of Pan Am locomotives still running around.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving into passenger cars in HO scale, here's the Via Rail Canada Siemens Venture Lumi set that I mentioned earlier. And when I say set, that's what the real train is. It's a semi-fixed consist, so they refer to it as a set. These are all available to purchase separately, but you can build the entire consist in the correct order. And just like our standard Via Rail Canada Siemens Venture series, the cars come with interior lighting and prototypical interior configurations, and the cab car is going to come with the DCC and sound included to allow you to operate the lighting and some of the appropriate sound features that you would find on a cab car when you're operating it alongside your locomotive.
Yes, we have. I do want to give an update on that topic with the cab car. It is currently in production. The initial announcement that we had for the regular Via paint scheme to complement the previously released Siemens Venture cars, that's in production right now and looking to arrive this summer. So that's the latest update, and the regular Via paint scheme will be arriving first, and the Lumi will be arriving at a later date. So that's the current status of the cab car. In the meantime, we're very excited about the Lumi paint scheme, offering a little bit of a change up from the previous run. I think one of the cool features about this is how the Via word mark, which you saw on the Charger locomotive, stretches all the way onto the first car of the of the consist, that business class car there. When I first saw these train sets, I was like, could they possibly make that Via logo any bigger? And they did, but it was too big for one locomotive.
But it looks cool. I love the effect.
Mm-hmm.
So staying north of the border, we've got another Canadian announcement. And this is a new paint scheme addition to our 85-foot Bud Full Dome. We've had a lot of cars, or a lot of paint schemes for this car over the years, and thankfully they remain somewhat popular in reality. So we continue to get new paint schemes to give them. So this is CN 119, Canadian National 119, which is a business train car. This was added to the CN business train in 2023. And believe it or not, it's actually the heritage of this car. It is the same car that was Ocean View for Amtrak, which we offer in Amtrak Phase 4 and the Heritage Phase 3 scheme. So, and actually, between Amtrak and CN, it also ran on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, and we offer that version as well. So, the Ocean View has certainly given us a lot of mileage, and this paint scheme is a really cool modern addition to this series. We also have, to go along with our Christmas 440, you can't have the locomotive running on its own, so we've got two old-time passenger cars painted in the same North Pole and Southern Christmas scheme. You've got Turtle Dove and Partridge.
Yeah, that's right. Hope is to, over time, do all 12 days of Christmas on these passenger car sets, so you can have a nice long consist there. So we're starting out with these two.
It's going to be a fun train.
Mm-hmm.
So moving into freight rolling stock, we've got a new paint scheme for our ore car. This is a 70s and upwards Union Pacific paint scheme, so a little more recent than typically some of the schemes we've offered on this car, but no less appropriate. This is another type of car that you would see long strings of, running throughout the upper Midwest. So this will make a cool addition to this series. And then continuing with our Pan Am license, we're happy to offer the 50-foot 6-inch outside brace boxcar with end of train device in Pan Am Railways colors. And Tyler, this one has a few things worth going over. If you want to, since you did the artwork on this, tell us about some of the things that we can expect with this model.
Yeah, of course. As you mentioned, it's got the end of train device, which is track power right there on the end of the car. So it always adds some fun action and lighting to your freight train. And you'll notice here we have two drawings, and this is the same item, the same car. It had a different lettering style on each side of the car. You can see the Pan Am, the large billboard lettering on the top, and a much smaller Pan Am Railways on the bottom. I'm not sure if this was just an experiment or they just wanted to change things up and have different lettering on each side of the car, but it adds something interesting. There was a bit of a debate at first amongst us about were there two different styles of cars? Were there some that had the billboard lettering, some that had the small lettering? And after quite a bit of research, we determined that this exact road number did in fact have the different lettering at the same time.
Another point worth mentioning about this car is that you can't really see it in the artwork here from the angle, but we're also going to be replicating the overspray on the roof that the real cars received when they were painted.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next we're into our 50-foot plug door box cars. We've got two new additions here. Two new additions, but three paint schemes, right, Tyler?
Yes. Well, it's technically you could say it that way. So we've got another double-sided car up top here, the Canadian National newsprint car. This, along with three other cars, including the familiar Canadian National rainbow cylindrical hopper that we've had in our line for quite some time now. All of these cars were initially painted on one side for an advertising campaign, and then they were released into regular service For the advertisement, they only needed them painted on one side, so they were released in service with the regular Canadian National Paint Scheme on the other side. So here you've got the standard brown with the yellow door on the one side, and on the other you've got all these Canadian newspaper mastheads or letterheads to represent this car was specially equipped for carrying newsprint. So it's a very cool paint scheme there. And just below that, we've got another addition to our Christmas range, the Santa's Bakery North Pole and Southern car.
I have to say, Tyler, hats off to you for getting all those mastheads onto that car and represented correctly.
Yeah, that was definitely a lot of work, a lot of figuring out the typefaces and doing some custom graphics in some cases. We previously released that car in N scale as a track cleaning car, and now we're bringing it to HO as well, so people will really be able to appreciate all the work that went into that artwork.
Absolutely. All right, so moving to our one of our favorites, the 40-foot boxcar series, always popular among modelers. We have two editions from a couple of different eras. We have the CP Rail Action Yellow with the commonly known as the Pac-Man logo on the end there. That would represent these cars in their in their later period of use. This would probably have been, what would you say, Tyler, the 70s into the 80s?
This would be the 70s when the CP Rail branding with the multi-mark was introduced. Fun fact about this particular paint scheme, most of the CP Rail boxcars were red. There were a couple of green ones for newsprint service. This yellow one was specially equipped, and I think there were about 5 or 6 of this car in this paint scheme. They were specifically equipped for carrying asphalt shingles in Quebec.
Interesting.
And then just to the right of it, we have the Union Pacific Challenger Merchandise Service scheme, which would be a 1940s era scheme.
I think one of my favorite aspects of that car is the red trucks. Freight cars just always look so much more classy when the paint scheme carries down into the trucks.
Yeah, they really do.
So, moving to our old-time freight car series, we have a new addition to our boxcars. This is the New York Central and Hudson River grain line scheme. Just another colorful paint scheme to add to any consists from pre-1900. And for anyone who's not familiar with these boxcars, they're cool little scale cars that have a sliding opening door as well. And then here we have a pretty unique paint scheme in our as a new addition to our track cleaning 40-foot gondola range. That this series was this series came to market a couple of years ago, and we're adding one more paint scheme to the line for now. And Tyler, tell us a little bit about what this is about.
This is a designated as a traction motor car. It was used by the Louisville and Nashville specifically for transporting traction motors for diesel locomotives between their various maintenance facilities.
That's awesome. So if you happen to be a modeler who has a model of a traction motor on hand, or is able to 3D print one, you could put one in there and have a loaded car, and whether you're running it with that or not, you can put this on your consist, and it'll help keep your tracks clear of dirt and dust and allow your trains to run smoothly. So we also have a new addition to our 52-foot flat car range with a 70s era chassis scheme. This is a car that had B&O heritage, and now you can't really see the deck on this. What color is the deck on this car?
This has a black deck.
Okay, that's one of the things I always like about these flat cars is the different color you get on the deck versus the sides.
Yeah, and for the sides itself, for the frame, it's always nice to have a little bit of color with a flat car. A lot of them tend to be black or brown or oxide red, so this adds a little bit of color to the range.
That it does. All right, I'm pretty excited for these. These are as Tyler, as you know, I'm a Caboose guy, so Always happy to see more cabooses join the line, and especially one of our most recent tooled cabooses. Tell us a little bit about these two schemes that our short body bay window transfer caboose is going to receive.
Yeah, so these transfer cabooses, they're based primarily on a Missouri Pacific design, which was now we say transfer cabooses, but the Missouri Pacific actually used these as regular mainline cabooses. This was towards the end of the caboose era, and they decided on a very utilitarian design that didn't need a lot of extra space for crews to ride in or facilities. And this was later adopted or copied by several other railroads. On the bottom there, the Union Pacific, that was originally a Missouri Pacific car that the Union Pacific acquired after their merger. And this particular car was used in maintenance of way service and has a unique orange and gray paint job that I don't believe any other of these cabooses had. And just above that is one of the copies. That's a Louisville and Nashville family lines paint scheme to complement the GP40 we showed earlier. And these were built by Fruit Growers Express car shops for the family lines, both the Louisville, Nashville, and the Clinchfield. And several of these later passed on to CSX, which we did in the first run of these cars.
That's just such a good looking paint scheme, no matter what you see it on. So also in our caboose line, I did happen to glance over to the comments and see a question about this, about its availability. And we'll get to questions later on. We're not too far from the end of our slideshow here, so we'll still have plenty of time for a Q&A. But this is our standard bay window caboose, new addition to this line, which is the CSX modern day blue MOW scheme. This would be seen on maintenance trains. I believe I remember seeing photos of this car on a welded rail train, and I'm sure they were used on. It's been used on ballast trains and other modern era appropriate trains for a caboose. So a cool addition to the line. We also have two paint scheme additions to our 36-foot wide vision caboose. We've got Milwaukee Road and Norfolk Southern. The Milwaukee Road, Tyler, is this based on a prototype that still exists?
It is. It is preserved. It has been restored at the Illinois Railroad Museum.
Awesome. And then to round out our cabooses, we have our two new additions to our old-time bobber caboose range. So we've got in keeping with the theme of the old-time Christmas with the 440 and the old-time passenger cars, we're also releasing this bobber caboose, North Pole and Southern caboose number 12. Really classy green, gold, and red scheme. And then we've also got a second East Broadtop old-time caboose to complement the first one, which was in more of a utilitarian functional scheme that was used in the revenue freight days. With this one, by contrast, is in classic caboose red and has the very well-known acorn logo adorned on the side of the car.
Very nice looking. Can you allow me to tell a bad joke before we go to the next slide?
How bad are we talking?
It's pretty bad.
Oh boy. Do I need to get you back on camera for this?
No, that's fine. Just go to the next slide, and I'll just say, if you believe everything we just told you, we've got a bridge to sell you as well.
Okay, you're right. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yep, we've got a new addition to our oxide, or to our Easy Track Truss Bridge with blinking light range. This is oxide red, so we brought out silver not too long ago. Black has been in the line for obviously many years, and this is. I've always enjoyed oxide red bridges. They bring a nice splash of color to a layout, especially when you're surrounded by greenery. And this has the added benefit of having the flashing red light, which just is a nice little dynamic feature for the bridge. And staying within bridges, we have a new addition to our girder bridge series with Norfolk Southern, which was available in N scale initially, and we've brought to our HO girder bridge range as well. Mm-hmm. So moving into HO N30, which is HO narrow gauge. we've got a couple of new additions here. As some of you may know, we've been slowly rolling out a selection of Welsh narrow gauge locomotives and rolling stock. We started with the Taliflin, which is the flagship locomotive for the Taliflin Railway in Wales. We've offered it in 3 different color schemes that it wore throughout its various periods of its preservation. And we're happy to introduce one of its counterpart locomotives still running today on the Taliflin Railway, the Sir Hayden, which, just like the Taliflin, is an 042 ST, which stands for saddle tank. And we're offering this just like we did with the Taliflin in a couple of different paint schemes that the prototype has been seen in over its years of preservation. Something that's worth mentioning about the Taliflin Railway is it was actually the world's first official preserved heritage railway. It started operation as a preserved entity in 1951, when steam and many other railroads that would become heritage lines were still in revenue service or revenue use. So to continue with the Welsh theme, but moving to a different but equally well-known Welsh narrow gauge railway, we're introducing 2 Festiniog Railway coal wagons. And you will see it spelled with 2 G's there. That's not a typo. That's actually the Welsh spelling for wagon. So this is actually based on the same car. It's worn these 2 different road numbers over the years, but it did operate alongside several different cars that were very similar looking. So it's not a stretch to see both of these running together. And the car is still preserved on the Festiniog Railway today. And they bring it out for special events like photo freights and stuff like that. All right, we are into N scale. Tyler, I did a bunch of talking over the last few ones here, so I'm going to let you take the lead on the next few. And also, you're an N scaler, so it's only appropriate.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So for N scale, we don't have any new locomotives to show at this time. As far as new to the catalog, we have some things in the works. We've still got our 19th century 460s in development. We're also working on the release of the 44 tonner. But in the meantime, we've got some new rolling stock to show off. Our high cube boxcar. We've got another Christmas car for that. Our first edition for N scale Christmas cars. Got a North Pole and Southern Toys boxcar with some nice vintage graphics with the rocking horse there. Not shown on the slide, we also have a new road number for the Union Pacific that will be coming out at the same time. If you want to move ahead to the next slide, 2 new road names for the 50-foot, 6-inch outside brace boxcar. Here is the N-scale version of the Pan Am boxcar that we showed in HO. This one does not have the under-train device, but just like the HO version, it has the different Pan Am lettering on either side. And then we also have another brand new road name, the Florida East Coast.
That's a nice vibrant scheme. And I think you mentioned when we were talking about this before the stream that although you can't see it here, you said the ends of the cars are black?
Yes, that's correct. It has black ends, which was also unique because from what I found, most Florida East Coast cars at this period were painted red all over. But we found a unique variation to do something different with it.
Yeah, and it certainly adds a little bit more color to your consist.
Then we have some new tank cars as well. Starting off with the Freedom tank car, we've got 3 new paint schemes here to N scale. Protex Industries, which we previously had in HO scale. We have DeSoto Chemical Coatings, which is a brand new paint scheme that we've never done before. A nice distinctive jade green car. And we have another Christmas car, the North Pole Eggnog Company.
That's a fun one. Another one I would be sure to empty at least a quarter of on my own.
Yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out to our colleague Helen, who is our media coordinator. Who she joined us about a year ago and has been working on graphic design and helping manage social media. And we gave her a crack at doing some production artwork with this and the toy boxcar, and I think she did a great job with them.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always good when you get another person's perspective on this stuff because she's given these a nice vintage look.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have one more addition, a single dome tank car. This is the Beehive Corn Syrup car. There were a couple of these cars in various configurations. This was a Canadian company, as you can see on the left side of the car, the Port Credit, Ontario address. This company is still in existence today. I don't know if they still have any tank cars, but the yellow top and the blue bottom, it was a definitely a fun paint scheme to do. Changes things up from some people say all tank cars are just black, especially nowadays, and there is still some variety in colors out there.
Yeah. Although nothing compared to what you would see in the 30s and 40s. I kind of wish tank car owners would put that amount of investment into their paint schemes as they did then.
Mm-hmm. And then moving on, I believe this is the last new N scale flat car we have to show here. We have a Burlington Northern 52-foot flat car, another colorful flat car to add to that range. And then finally, an N scale, and this is something that we actually have samples of here tonight, is the latest expansion of our N scale Easy Track line, the Concrete Tie Easy Track. This is something we introduced in HO scale a couple years ago, and now we're bringing it into N scale. So here's a sample of the 10-inch straight track. Bring it closer to my camera here so you can see the unique profile of the ties. It's not just a different color. This is brand new, newly tooled ties representing the concrete design that is used on your modern high-speed passenger routes and also on certain heavily used Class 1 main lines.
Definitely a good addition to the Easy Track line.
Yeah. So, for example, and this is the 10-inch straight with the the terminal rerailer, fits right in with your modern Siemens Chargers in N scale. So, in addition to the straights, we also have the 11 1/4 radius curved track. And of course, you can't have a complete layout without having some turnouts. So we've got the left-hand and right-hand remote turnouts as well. Operate both with the remote control box that's included with all of our turnouts, as well as operating manually.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to, Matt, I just want to make sure we're, you're aware of this. I think we're having some, some very passionate comments here tonight.
Yeah, I saw that, and with all apologies to the person making the comments, I have put a stop to that because while we certainly respect their opinion, and we welcome the any constructive comments. If you're just going to be spamming and writing the same thing over and over again, it clogs up the chat, and it makes everybody's life harder when it gets to the Q&As. So
yeah,
I have taken care of that.
Okay, thanks. So on that note, we do want to acknowledge, one of the other requests that was asked about earlier, which was to see the 0-30 announcements, and we do have one. If you want to bring that up.
Yeah, do you want to go back to the slideshow, or do you have something to show?
Yeah, let's go back to the slides.
Okay. All right, here we are. This is the Rogers 260 with metal gears. We have received some feedback that it may not be a Rogers prototype, and we're doing a little bit more research into that. These early narrow gauge Colorado steam locomotives were there were a lot of small manufacturers, and we're going to check on the prototype history of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got 4 paint schemes. We've got Colorado and Southern, number 13. We've got painted unlettered black. And we've got Denver, South Park, and Pacific, which is a beautiful Russian iron finished locomotive. And then we've got the Christmas, North Pole, and Southern number 12, which is, again, another fantastic locomotive if you like running trains under the Christmas tree or just to celebrate the Christmas season. It's worth noting that the Colorado and Southern 13 and the painted unlettered black come with the large air tank configuration, which we haven't had in our line for a number of years. And the other two, the Denver South Park Pacific and the Christmas, both come with the small air tank configuration, which is both of these are prototypical.
That's correct. And of course, we've got another Christmas 260, which is something we had in line a couple years ago, and we've got a new variation in some new lettering, some new ornamental lining there. Because a little bit of a fun backstory. Our former vice president of product development, the late Lee Riley, who was a champion of 0 and 30. He was one of the ways he was able to sell our team on putting it in development was that it was the perfect scale for your Christmas villages with the ceramic buildings from Department 56 and Lamax and companies of that nature. So it's kind of fitting in that tradition to have both the prototype and a Christmas 260.
Absolutely. All right, so last but certainly not least, we're into large scale, and we are extremely happy to announce that we are bringing back our GE-9 in a whole slew of new paint schemes that we initially announced as conditional releases in 2023. And if you were following these at the time, you'll be aware that we did not initially reach the threshold for being able to go ahead with these paint schemes, but a little more time went by, and we were able to reach that threshold. So we're happy to say that we are bringing these paint schemes into the line. The road numbers will be different to the numbers that were initially announced for these paint schemes, because we did have to add these in as new products in our inventory. But they are all prototypical numbers and correct for these paint schemes. So we've got Norfolk Southern in the standard scheme with the horse head. We've got Union Pacific with the more recent era yellow sill, which has the yellow conspicuity striping as opposed to the red striping that was commonly seen prior to these. We've got Southern Pacific in the classy. I guess that would be the post Rio Grande merger scheme with that style of lettering.
Yes, after the Rio Grande merger, the Southern Pacific adopted that speed lettering style. I believe these were some of the last new locomotives delivered to the SP.
And we've got CSX in the Bright Future YN2 scheme. Always a favorite. We've got Canadian National. And we've got BNSF in the classic H2 scheme with the Santa Fe style war bonnet emblem on the front, which I've always been a fan of. And it's worth
a little bit of something for everybody in this release, and again, we're happy that we're able to officially do another run of Dash 9. And I do want to mention that previous announcement in 2023 was a conditional announcement. This is not going to be a conditional announcement. This is a confirmed project that we are going to be moving forward with in production this year. That said, if you do want to make sure you want to reserve one of these Dash 9s, make sure to get your pre-orders in with your local hobby shop.
Absolutely. And it may go without saying, because you can see them here on the screen, but each of these new paint schemes does come with 2 road numbers each, so you can build a nice consist with these. And going from the largest locomotives in our G-scale, large-scale line to the smallest, I don't know if you could call them locomotives, but rail vehicles, we've got 2 additions to our speeder range, Baltimore and Ohio and Milwaukee Road.
That's right.
They have painted crew figures riding in them, and I love the locomotive-inspired scheme on the B&O with the gray and gold striping on the front there.
Yeah, inspired by their E units and F units, or the just a passenger paint scheme from that period. These have the operating headlight, and they also have the flashing LED roof light. So that covers all of the major new announcements in this catalog, as far as new paint schemes, brand new items. Once again, we've got a whole lot more in the catalog proper. So make sure to check that out. Check out the digital copy on BachmannTrains.com, and the print copies will be shipping out to dealers very soon.
Absolutely. And if you happen to be in Southern California, or actually in Southern or Central California, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to be attending two World's Greatest Hobby shows. One in Costa Mesa, outside of Los Angeles, and one in Sacramento the following week. The first one's coming up this coming weekend. The Sacramento show is coming up the following weekend, and if you're looking to get your hands on a copy of our catalog, we will have, I guess you would call them a pre-print of our catalogs available at these shows before they'll be available on our website.
All right. So I think now that we've managed to get through those, I know a lot of you have been waiting for a while to have your questions answered. So let's ready to tackle the Q&A section, Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna scroll to the top if you want to start from the bottom, and we'll hopefully meet in the middle and not overtake each other.
Yeah, let's do it. So 1 to 23 scale, large scale locomotives. We do want to acknowledge all the comments that we received and requests. We seek you, we hear you. We do want to do more of 1 to 20.3 because those Spectrum locomotives and rolling stock. You can see some of them just behind me over my right shoulder. We know they're some of the best locomotives, most beautiful locomotives we've ever made. So we can't make any promises. It's something we'll definitely look into. Seeing the demand that's out there.
Absolutely.
On a similar note, more Williams products. Same situation there. We've not given up on Williams by any means. We're actively working on bringing out some new Williams locomotives. Right now, we've got some technical issues that I can't completely get into, but we're working to resolve those right now. They have to deal with the electronics, and once we can get those sorted out, we do want to have a new Williams announcement.
Not a question, but I want to give a shout out to Sean Rail Animations, who said, "Top of the evening from Ireland. Always great to see just how far and wide people are tuning in from." I do see a question here about the N-scale 460s. I believe you did cover that in when we were discussing N-scale.
Yes, they are still in development. I'll tell a little bit of the story. The prototype that we had originally selected for these, we found was not large enough for all the features we wanted to cram into this model, namely being DCC and sound. So we had to go back to the drawing board, do some revisions to have all that, plus have a motor inside the locomotive rather than in the tender like our older 440. So we're hoping to have a sample to show this spring or this summer.
I've got a question here. Will we ever see HON3 from Bachmann? We don't have any plans for HON3 at this time. Obviously, as you know, we're expanding our British Welsh HON30 line. We certainly, are aware that there's interest in North American narrow gauge prototypes, and if this is something that you're interested in, and there are a lot of other people interested in, definitely continue to send us recommendations, and let anyone who also wants the same things to send us recommendations too.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a question about any updates on the B&O EM1. Tyler, actually, you're probably the best one to answer that.
Yeah, not much to report with the EM1 at this time. We've got some projects that were previously announced that have kind of taken precedence over that, meaning they were announced earlier before the EM1. So I don't have much to report on the EM1 at this time.
I am looking forward to that model. It's just that thing is just a beast.
Mm-hmm. Matt, maybe you can give some updates on just general updates on the Thomas shipping for Stanley, Sir Handel, and the figures.
So I haven't checked recently, so I can't give you the most up-to-date information on that. I can tell you that Stanley is shipping shortly from the factory, so we should be receiving him sometime in the early spring. Um, Same for Sir Handel's going to be a little bit later because we're still working out some final details, and with the what was the other one you were that was being asked about?
The figure
The
packs.
figure packs, that's right. The figures we're also expecting this spring. We don't have a timeline for them yet, but they are in production, and we're looking forward to seeing them in the relatively near future. I do have a question here about whether the to stay broad, it says the situation with China, if that's going to affect the delivery of anything this year. We're not expecting any issues with delivery, at least outside of any of our normal production concerns that may come up.
Mhm.
I do see a comment here that says this is not a place to suggest products. So I'm actually okay. We're actually okay. If you want to suggest products to us, by all means, this is any form that's appropriate is fine by us.
Yes.
We're always happy to hear what the modelers out there are looking for.
Yes, we do always read all the suggestions, even if we can't necessarily comment on every single one of them. We kind of like to play things close to the chest. There's some things we may be working on already, and you'll just have to wait and see until they're announced. Other things will take a little bit longer, but we appreciate the suggestions.
Absolutely. Let's see.
I have a question. Can you use the turnouts on a circle track? So using turnouts in conjunction with curved track, it's a little bit tricky. There's a little bit of a science to it because you need to account for the radius of your curve and the radius for the curved portion of your turnout. For example, with the N scale concrete side track, we've made it a little bit easy in that the radius of the curved leg of our standard turnout is 11.25 inches, the same as the standard curve. So if you had a circle of track and you want to add a turnout to it, you would want to assemble it like so. So your curved leg would continue into the turnout, and then you just insert another curve here to continue your circle, and your siding, your side track will just be branching off of the outside of the circle. So I hope that answered your question.
Let's see.
I saw one or two questions after we showed off the East Broad Top and stuff in HO, and the questions were to something along the lines of why produce East Broad Top in HO scale when it's a narrow gauge railroad, and reason for that is honestly just with the excitement of the East Broad Top reopening, the restoration, expansion of service on the railroad, all the restoration work they've been doing, the return of steam. We didn't want it to just be limited to narrow gauge modelers. We wanted those who just do a traditional HO scale layout to be able to get in on the fun as well. We actually have a working relationship and some friends working with the East Broad Top Foundation, and they were interested in having some Bachmann models available in their gift shop. As many as we could, realistically do that would make sense. So we looked at our HO scale line and said, it's not narrow gauge, but what can we do that's in the spirit of the East Broad Top for those who do HO standard gauge? And that was how that came about. We have the Bobber Caboose, which we showed earlier, and we also have a Baldwin 460 and some passenger cars already in the line. Uh, Now, for those of you who do want some authentic narrow gauge, we do have several East Broad Top products right now in our 0 and 30 line. We've got the East Broad Top Freight set. We've got the upcoming Rock Hill Limited Passenger ready to run set. We've got 2-bay hoppers out now, and we're also working on the newly tooled 3-bay East Broad Top hopper. So plenty of options for both standard gauge and narrow gauge modelers.
Absolutely. And the standard gauge, I apologize if you already said this, Tyler, but the standard gauge HO scale models are also a great opportunity for somebody who's been to the East Broad Top and doesn't have a narrow gauge layout to bring a memento of their experience there onto their railroad.
Yes. There's also, this is something we don't currently have in the line. The current HO East Broad Top models do represent narrow gauge equipment, but East Broad Top did own standard gauge equipment to use at their interchange with the Pennsylvania Railroad. So that might be something we have to consider in the future.
Might just have to look into something. I do see a question here. Will Bachmann re-release 0 and 30 Porters, Forneys, Shays, etc.? Well, in the etc., we are re-releasing the Heisler. Tyler, you didn't cover this one already, did you? Because I think I scrolled past where you started going up.
Yeah, we didn't. I did not cover that yet.
Okay.
The Heisler was in our 2024 mid-year announcements. It'll be available for the first time with Tsunami 2 on board in 3 prototypical paint schemes, as well as a painted unlettered with all the different detail parts included.
And also metal gears for the first time as well. So these will be really nice, smooth, long-lasting runners.
Correct.
Are the Holland America passenger cars going to be available separate from the Alaska train set? We have the sets announced. I'll just have to see.
Matt, this is something that you've been working on. The video for the Thomas announcements. Will we be able to see that soon?
Yeah, we're I think it became kind of a running joke for a couple of years when we'd say an Thomas video will be coming soon at the end of the announcement videos, because more often than not we would just be so consumed with how much was going on and trying to get these products to market that we wouldn't have time to put the video out. But this year we are actually making an effort to do that because it's the 80th anniversary. It's something we have to we gotta put out an official video on all the exciting products that we have in recognition of that. So we are working on that. Hoping to have something out probably sometime before March or maybe into early March.
Mm-hmm. I had a comment that says N-scale DCC starter sets. I don't know if this was asking if we have them or if we'll make them. We currently have 2 DCC starter sets. I actually have one over here on display here in our conference room. And I'll bring it here. This is the Roaring Rail set. This is a digital sound set. Both of our N-scale DCC starter sets do have sound on board. So you have the Roaring Rails here, which includes a GP40 locomotive with sound on board and freight cars, as well as the Easy Command Plus controller. So that's everything you need right out of the box to get started with DCC. And we also have the Whistle Stop Special, which features a 460 steam locomotive.
Fantastic ways to get into DCC and sound modeling.
Yes.
In really just minutes.
Yeah, and both of those in stock have been available for a couple years online or at your local hobby shop.
I am seeing, as I'm scrolling through here, a lot of questions about whether we'll be bringing American HON30 to the line, which would obviously represent, if you're going to be the closest to the prototype scale, would be 2-foot gauge. we're certainly we're certainly open to suggestions. It's obviously a fairly niche area because, for the most part, outside of industrial areas, 2-foot gauge railroads are mainly found in Maine. So that restricts a lot of the possibilities for that scale into one state. But like I said, we're seeing a lot of questions, so we'll certainly keep it under consideration. Never a bad idea to give us a suggestion, even if you think it might not be possible, because you never know, it might just be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we are skipping over a lot of questions about specific products here, but we are reading them. Like Tyler said earlier, we do have to keep things fairly close to the chest about stuff, about upcoming products. So we don't want to ruin the element of surprise. So we can't comment on every product that's being or every locomotive or rolling stock product that's being suggested, but we are looking at your suggestions.
Mm-hmm. One suggestion I think we've seen a couple times recently, and has kind of been making the rounds for our Thomas suggestion. New faces for Thomas, Percy, and James, and custom face packs. And it's been a very popular suggestion, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much we can say beyond what's something we'll take into consideration. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that at all, Matt.
There's nothing really to speak of at this point, other than it's something we're aware of, and it's we'll certainly look into it if it is feasible.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that's I've reached the end of the questions on my end. Unless you have anything else,
Yeah.
Tyler.
I think we've got all of the major ones that we can answer. If you didn't see or get your question answered, or you're watching this on demand after it's been live and you have a question, as always, you can leave a comment on the Facebook post or the YouTube video, or send us an email at info@bachmanntrains.com. I think before we sign off, I think we can share the Thomas announcements real quick.
We can talk about them.
Yeah,
I'll bring the catalog over here.
Yeah, I can actually share my screen so we can have it up here as well, I think.
Right. Let me see.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
So here's the...
Oh, now we've got a problem. Your screen is here, but it's totally distorted your audio for some reason.
Good.
So here, let me. I guess I'll just talk about it while you show it. How about that?
Sure.
So we've got our biggest new announcement is the 80th anniversary Thomas and Friends set. This is based on how Thomas the Tank Engine first appeared in the illustrations in the Railway Series books, based in the how he looked in that very first illustration that you can see inset at the bottom of the page. So in rolling stock, we've got a new addition. We've got the milk tank. We brought the milk tank out before in a couple of different paint schemes, but this is this is another. I believe it's a CGI era milk tank, which is an absolute necessity if you're modeling the Thomas and Friends railways. And then we announced this back at our NMRA announcements, but we've made a couple of adjustments. Somewhat in recognition of the 80th anniversary. The Sodor China Clays wagon, we've actually added Railway Series inspired illustration or lettering to the side of the car. Rather than just keeping it as a standard red plank wagon, we wanted to make it a more enjoyable car to have and give more of a nod to the Railway Series and the 80th anniversary. And in the same vein of the 80th anniversary, we also have two new ventilated vans. Both of these are painted in classic Thomas colors, the red and white and the blue and white. And one has the retro Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends cloud logo on it, and the other one has a nice Thomas 1945 graphic on the side of it. Then we also have another addition to our 12-ton van, which is Troublesome Truck number 7. And this is the first 12-ton van that we've done with a face on it. So look for that also later this year. And at N scale, again, we realized that these were 70th anniversary paint schemes in the series, in the TV series, but it's again paying tribute to the history of and the origins of the characters. We're bringing out Thomas the Tank Engine in his London, Brighton, and South Coast Railway 70 scheme, as he was first appeared on the island of Sodor, according to the series. And this is an N scale, and we're also bringing out Origin James in the first paint scheme he appeared in the series. Not so much 80th anniversary, but just additions to the N scale line. We're also bringing out the Sodor Scrap Wagon and the Open Wagon in red. I believe we just have a large scale announcement left, and that is, once again, we are bringing out the LBSC paint scheme for Thomas. So something for every scale in the Thomas and Friends universe, coming from Bachmann.
That's right. Was actually where they have it.
You still sound a little robotic. I'm not sure.
How about now?
Oh, much better. There we go.
Okay. That's what's fun about doing this this stuff live, getting to improvise. So, yeah, a lot of exciting announcements. Again, getting to do it in every scale. As promised, something for everybody.
Absolutely.
We've got an F in the chat for Winston. Yes, Winston has been discontinued from the large scale line, but you may be able to still find him at your local hobby shop. He's taking a break for now.
Yeah, that's what we like to say. We never like to say something is out of the line. It's just taking a break.
Yeah.
All right. I think that just about does it. What do you think?
I think so. Hope everybody enjoyed. Getting to see all these new announcements and hear a little more of the backstory behind them. Once again, we're still in the midst of our busy train show season, so we hope to see those of you in California at the World's Greatest Hobby on Tour for the next 2 weekends in Costa Mesa and Sacramento.
Absolutely. And if you need more information for either of these shows, follow our subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll get the all the details for when and where we will be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us and checking out our new announcements. And we'll, if we don't see you at the shows, we'll see you again here next month.
Yeah. Have a good night.